Welcome to SwillinGrog's Wonderful World of Beer. This time around, it's Melchers Dutch Gold Lager Beer. 5% alcohol by volume, brewed and canned by the Melchers Group in the Netherlands. So yes, a Dutch beer from the Netherlands. It's been a while, I think, since I've reviewed a Dutch beer, if memory serves. Anyway, until a few weeks ago, I had never seen this before in my life. I actually went to a liquor store on the Gold Coast. It was a chain that's known as Quench. I'd never heard of it before, but they've got a few outlets on the Gold Coast, and this was something that I noticed in their fridge, of course, being a reviewer of beer. So I was quite compelled to pick up a 4-pack, which was quite cheap, in fact. I think it was $10.99, which is good in Australian terms. So hopefully it's nothing hideous like, you know, Amsterdam Mariner or Royal Dutch Post Horn. But yeah, I mean, why not check it out for that price, I said to myself. Anyway, enough of babbling from me. I think it's high time that I cracked open this lovely 500ml can of lager. So let me give it a good crack. Alright, bit of smoke there, it's always good to see. And I'm going to pour it out into this pint glass that I got for my birthday last week from none other than the almighty DJ B-Cut, who I should be doing some reviews with next week, hopefully. Alright, so stay tuned for that, folks. Anyway, so I'll give it a nice pour. Okay. Time to get a bit aggressive, I think. Give it a nice head. Alright, got the entire can out, that's good to see. Okay. Alright, so firstly we shall make an assessment of its appearance, as we always do. So the appearance, yeah, I mean, I suppose you could say, is a very clear, golden yellow colour, like most lagers. Has a moderate amount of carbonation. It's looking and sounding very much like the Rivet Lager that I just reviewed before this. But yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, the bubbles are a little bit tinier. Yeah, in this particular brew. Yeah, looks a little bit more effervescent. Anyway, that head has dissipated quickly, hasn't it? I think when I poured it, I had about 2 fingers of, you know, bright white fluffy head there, and now it's dissipated to just about 1. Anyway, let's move on to the aroma. Alright, well, picking up some, you know, mildy, you know, some mildy, that's not even a word, some, what we would call, you know, sort of mild, you know, sweet grains there. But, yeah, like the Rivet, I'm not, you know, not really getting much, you know, from the aroma. I mean, there is something there, but, yeah, it doesn't really stand out. Anyway, but that's, you know, that's not always a bad thing, or is it? Anyway, yeah, so I've talked about the appearance and I've talked about the aroma, so that could only mean that it's time for the taste test. So a huge cheers to you all, and an even bigger cheers to the almighty DJ B-Cut. I sure hope that we get to do those reviews next week. Alright, so yeah, let's dive in. Alright, well, much like the nose, I mean, you know, up front, you know, it's a mildly sweet, you know, grainy sort of taste. There's sort of like a fruitiness to it as well. You know, a bit of a muted sort of, green apple taste, perhaps you could say. That's, it's not a bad thing sometimes, as long as it's not too overpowering, like that Bavaria 8.6 that I reviewed a few years back now. That was just horrible, but yeah, it kind of works for this beer. It gives it a nice, clean, crisp, sort of a taste that, I certainly, like to see in a beer of this style. The bitterness, of course, is, very minimal here. Really, nothing to speak of, in terms of, hop bitterness or hop presence, for that matter. It's quite dry. I feel it, drying out the palate now. So I'm, obviously very much compelled to have another gulp. So yeah. Alright, well, it's certainly holding that taste profile. It's definitely got, its own sort of distinctive sort of, taste to it. I think it's one you'd certainly be able to, pick in a blind taste test. But, yeah, I mean, I can think of a lot of other lagers that I'd, rather drink than this particular brew, I'm afraid to say. But, it doesn't really have any, offensive flavours. But yeah, I mean, there's just something about it that doesn't, quite work in terms of its flavour. And I think, after a few of these, you'd certainly be, looking for, something else. But, for $10.99 a 4-pack, it's not too bad. Its drinkability is obviously going to be, quite high. Of course, it's one that you're going to have to drink ice cold. It's certainly something that, you could probably session, maybe, but I myself, I think I'd get a little tired of it after a few. I'd, like I said, be seeking out something else. Alright, so I think it's time that I wrapped this up, so I'll have one last gulp and give it a score out of 10. Alright, so all in all, Melchers Dutch Gold Lager beer, isn't too bad. It's quite reasonably priced. So, if you do see it, it might be worth checking out, perhaps. I certainly, wouldn't go out of my way to, find it again. But, what would I give it in terms of a score out of 10? Probably a 6.5 out of 10. I don't think it deserves any higher than a 6.5. So, there you go, folks. Melchers Dutch Gold Lager beer. A beer that I never thought I'd be reviewing, because I never had heard of it until just a few weeks ago. So anyway, yeah, you have to wonder, well, I have to wonder, what I'm going to find in the next year. Yeah, we certainly get some oddities in Australia, you could say, but yeah. Alright, so enough babbling from me. Thanks once again for joining me for another episode of SwillinGrog's Wonderful World of Beer. Until next time, folks, fare thee well, or